And that's kind of how we put it together.
That's awesome. I mean, it's awesome how technology enabled all of that to
Yeah.
happen. And so, are you guys planning to potentially play now that things are, I mean, things, I don't want to say opening, things have opened up. I mean, I've been to shows and, it's,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because no one's ever asked us to play a show ever, and Roger and I have talked about it too. It's like he's weird, because you would think he would get asked in Europe and all that. I just think people either assume that it's never going to happen because it's a side project, or maybe they're like, we can't afford to have them play. I don't know what the reasoning is, but we've never played live, and I don't know if we ever will play live.
but
Um,
would you, if someone were to ask and it was something you guys could do without it being like you guys are going to kill yourselves doing it?
sure, yeah, we would do it absolutely.
Now, which leads me to my other question: is there any chance you think we'll see instead maybe again at some point in the 20s?
That's probably highly unlikely. I mean, again, Steve and I just got back from Vegas last night. I was hanging out with Steve Larson. We went to a Rise Against concert out there.
Okay.
And so we have not, since the day we met, stopped talking. And Kev and I also stay in touch as well. But Bear, I haven't talked to Bear in 12 years or something like that. And Steve probably hasn't talked to him in 10 or 12 years also. He just stopped communicating. And it's a mystery. So just based on that, Instead's not the type of band, like Lidsville. When John Bunch passed away, there was a potential to celebrate him, and they said, do you want to do an Instead thing? Do you want to do a Lidsville thing? Do you want to do something? Because we know that you're one of his best friends. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. I, Instead was the first thing that rang in my mind because that's how we met. Reason to believe Instead. But then when I thought about it a little bit further, I thought, well, it actually makes more sense for Lidsville because Lidsville and Sensfield played so much together. That makes more sense. But we don't talk to Bear. So, but in that type of environment, it didn't matter who was playing what. It was just, here's Lidsville and there's Rich and he knows John Bunch, and that was pretty much it. So of course I talked to Steve, and then Greg wanted to do it, and so we got our friend Mitch Townsend, who also knew John Bunch really well, to play the other guitar, and it worked out fine. So that made sense. But to do that type of thing with Instead doesn't really make sense. It's like Instead was you four guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In most people's eyes. And I'm not an original member to begin with. So yeah, I can't make that call. So based on that, you'll probably never see Instead again, unfortunately.
Well, speaking of Instead, before I go, there's pictures of you playing shows and you had a cast on one of your fingers. Nelson, I want to say, told me what happened. How in the world did you did you slam your hand into a door of a car? Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, that was rough. That was we were leaving on tour. I knew we were leaving on tour in a couple days. I was going to the beach with my brother and his girlfriend at the time, and we were driving down to Newport, and he had to stop off in Santa Ana to pick up keys or something at some place that he worked at. I was in the back of the truck. It was a truck, so my brother and his girlfriend were in the truck. I was in the back of the truck. He pulls into the parking lot. We're all getting out to go get the keys or whatever it is, and I'm holding onto the hood, or no, the hood, the roof of the car, and I'm standing in the back. And as I'm doing that and about to jump out of the car, my brother's girlfriend slams her car door and
Oh,
slams on my fingers.
oh,
And the problem was it was locked. She had the door locked, so I'm screaming, and she can't just open the door right back up again. She has to get the keys for my brother, so it was in there for a little bit. It was rough, and so I didn't know if I was going to be able to tour, but it blew up like a balloon. It was turning black, and I went to the doctors. Right, it was the day before I left, and I said, "Am I going to be able to tour?" And he goes, "Look," he goes, "Here's what I can do." He drilled 3 holes through my fingernail to relieve the blood and get all that stuff out to make it go back to a normal looking finger, but it was black. And he said, you can try it. You probably won't be able to use that finger. You tape it up. If you can use these 2 fingers, you can use them. The other two, don't do anything with them. He goes, here's some medicine to take. You just put it on it every day. You should be fine. I told him I'm gonna be gone for 2 months, 3 months. I don't remember how long the tour was. He goes, if you start to smell something wrong, like if it smells like a dead body, go to the hospital. He goes, because then that's the only thing. He goes, but put the medicine on it every day, whatever. And I thought, okay, that's fine. and I did it, and so I had to tour that way, and I had to tape up my fingers and play 2 fingers every night. And I remember getting across the country, things were looking good, feeling good. I was playing the songs. I remember we were in Cleveland, and I pulled off the tape, and I was putting the medicine on there, and I go, oh my God, there was this white spots on my fingernail, and it smelled weird. And I thought, oh my God, my fingers are rotting. I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. And I panicked a little bit. I remember I called my mom. I was like, hey, how you doing? Oh, everything's okay. I just wanted to talk to you and make sure, you know. And then, and I showed Steve, or I was like, man, it ended up being where it was healing, and and the skin was starting to peel off and whatever, but it looked worse before it got better.
Of course, of course.
But it was great. It was a rough tour, man. I couldn't tie my shoes, you know. It was.
Oh God, I got 2 more questions, and then I promise I'll let you go. Are those pictures behind you? Are those band pictures?
Yes, I got. So I used to work at Golden Voice, and there was promo photos that were like awesome. Like, so you got the Beastie Boys and Nirvana and the Pixies, and No Doubt, which are friends of mine. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Music photos.
Awesome. Final question, and so I wrote this down. I'm going to read it as written. Not sure if it's going to come out well. Sure. So as we've gotten older, do you think that hardcore, you know, if you don't go to shows as much, is something that you kind of, because for instance, I find that the majority of the people that I talk to, 85% of the people in my life are from the hardcore scene. Mm-hmm. Do you find that hardcore is sort of kind of a mindset that you just sort of take with you then? And so maybe you're not going to shows all the time, go here and there, but that your life kind of becomes the hardcore scene. I don't know if I said that correctly. I just want to know your thoughts on that, because we're all getting older. I find that it's a time of reflection.
Sure. No, I know what you're saying. I think I know what you're saying. But yes, I definitely, the hardcore it's a lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, I don't like that kind of music anymore, and I just moved on or whatever. I still love that kind of music. I still am interested in what's going on. The scene has changed many times over. Every few years there's a new thing going on, and there's new kids that are going to run it and whatever. And most of my friends in my life also stem back one way or another to the hardcore scene. I was just I have a bakery out here, and I met a guy. We sort of started talking, and I told him he found out that I was from the hardcore scene. He was from in Virginia. And he said, and it was from the same era, that early 80s hardcore. And I go, isn't it weird? I go, it's almost like being in Vietnam or something. It's not that, you know, but it's like, it's this small group of people that were a part of something real significant for a short period of time, that early 80s hardcore, that as soon as you learn that, oh, you were doing that in 1984 too, it's like this connection, instant connection, you know? But yeah, a lot of my friends, that I still have today, are all from the hardcore scene.